Hello and welcome to this video, which will take you through a theory about audience, which is called the uses and gratifications theory. So our learning intentions are to understand the uses and gratifications theory and to apply this theory in order to consider why newspapers and news have appeal to audiences. Why do people like news and newspapers? Now, to do this, I have used a couple of websites. Here we go. Which you can get to very easily actually by googling uses and gratifications. The first one is a BBC one here, and the second one is on Media Know-All. Actually, that'll take you through the hypodermic needle model as well, which is another audience theory that we've looked at. There we go, uses and gratifications. Okay, this is quite good though. I think you should read this. I'll just go over the main points in this video. Okay. The uses and gratifications model then looks at why people use the media. What do they use it for? And I'll bring your attention to this sentence. The underlying idea behind the model is that people are motivated by a desire to fulfill or gratify certain needs. Rather than asking how the media uses us, the model asks how we use the media. And there's 4 different needs that are identified by this theory. One is a surveillance need. Now this is really interesting for news, and you should read this paragraph here. It's basically the idea that people feel better. I'll read this bit out. People feel better having the feeling that they know what's going on in the world around them. Okay, so people like newspapers because it makes them feel safer, even though the news is often bad news and often scary. It makes people feel more insecure when they don't know what's going on. Basically, it leaves us feeling more secure about the safety of our own lives. So that's surveillance. Secondly, personal identity. It's about sort of understanding who you are. So, for example, if you really liked a particular kind of music, like if you were a goth or something, then you would like you'd use the associated media. So you'd listen to particular music, you'd watch particular films, you'd read particular books, and it gives you a sense of who you are. Now, does this apply to newspapers? Well, it does a little bit, I think. Like some people might see themselves as a Guardian reader if they thought they were particularly kind of, I don't know, wanted to present themselves as educated and sort of intelligent or whatever. So to some extent, people think that the newspaper they read says something about their identity. Then you've got personal relationships. You've got relationships with the newspaper, and using the media within relationships. So this would mean, like, let's say there was a particular writer in a newspaper that you really liked or that you really hated. You might keep buying that newspaper because you've sort of got a relationship with that person. Okay, and secondly, you might use the media within relationships, i.e., you might talk about something that you've read in a newspaper to a friend or to your partner or whatever. The final need is diversion, and this is basically escapism, something to just get away from the daily grind of life. They give the example here of soap operas. I mean, you need to go and read this article now and get a bit more detail there. But what you need to think about is, well, how do newspapers offer us these things? Surveillance is straightforward, and you can talk about that. Personal identity perhaps is a bit more difficult, but basically that's the model. Read the thing and be ready if it comes up in a question where you could talk about audience appeal. So, for example, then if you're thinking, if you go to a newspaper website or whatever, well, let's say I was very interested in. So you've got Danny's Dumped here, Danny Minogue. There, what you might find is that people have a sort of relationship with Danny Minogue. They think that they either like her or dislike her, and the uses and gratifications theory suggests that this newspaper is appealing to us because it helps us expand on our our feelings or our relationship with that celebrity. Okay, so there's an example of personal relationships being used, being presented as a need that can be gratified by reading this newspaper.